Hi, my name's Anna, and with my partners Jennifer and Kira, we made this presentation entitled Questioning Assumptions About Students and Schools. Today we will first explore the importance of perspective. Then we will talk about assumptions. And finally, we will dive into the topic of social emotional learning. Let's get started. We'll start with the importance of perspective. As teachers, we need to look inward instead of outward when we're in the classroom and while reaching out to families and communities. Looking outward occurs when teachers take on the role of all-knowing in regards to a student's parents, home life, their past, their culture, etc. This role of all-knowing creates a wall between teachers, students, and parents. Looking inward occurs when teachers take on the role of a collaborator and a partner with parents and students. Looking inward breaks down that wall and makes room for communication and connections. We really need to remember that the only thing we have control over is ourselves. We really must examine our beliefs, understandings, and assumptions before looking into the lives of our students. We can't let our beliefs and assumptions take over our teachings. We really need to work with our students and parents by looking inward in order to create a successful and safe environment that is open to communication, understanding, and learning. We as teachers need to understand this importance of perspective and make the switch from outward thinking and looking teachers into inward. My eyes have been open to this idea of looking inward during my practicum this semester. One morning, a student came up to me and told me, "I'm so hungry. My mom didn't feed me breakfast this morning." I immediately made assumptions that his parents and their actions, or lack of actions, thinking that they weren't good parents and they didn't even care about their child. I shared this news with my teacher, but she then informed me that he and his mom are having an extremely difficult time making ends meet and are even at risk of losing their apartment. Therefore, that's the reason he came to school with a hungry stomach this morning. I immediately realized how my perspective affected my assumptions of the student. I had to take a step back and realize the importance of standing with my student, opening my eyes to his world, and working with him instead of standing apart from him.
As a teacher, it is very important to not make assumptions of your students. Assumptions are things that are accepted as true but without proof. One example of an assumption would be this guy here in the background. On the right, he looks tough, manly, sleeves cut off, tattoos down his arms, just how he's standing. And he's really a doctor, as you can see in the picture on the right. So you're assuming, based on how he looks on the right, that he's not a doctor, that he's tough, maybe rides motorcycles, something of that sort, when he is really smart, is a doctor. So as a teacher, you can't make assumptions of your students on how they look or how they act because how they look may be different than who they actually are. Like for anyone, it is important that we don't make assumptions of our students because we don't know their background or where they come from. Not all students come from the same background and families, and they might even be different than our own. So it's important as teachers that we understand and acknowledge that our funds of knowledge, their ways of living and learning, so that we can work with them instead of against them. So instead of making assumptions about the student, um, on how they dress or how they act, we as teachers need to become almost like investigators and find out why a student is sleeping in class, why a student may be blurting out, or why a student dresses a certain way, instead of making a snap judgment and saying, oh, they're rude, they don't care, or their parents don't take care of them. So it's very important for teachers to be aware of these possibilities before making snap judgments about the reasons for students' actions.
So another thing we learned about in our section was social emotional learning. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why should be integrated in classrooms today. So the biggest reason of all is social skills are the most essential life skill. We need them as a person, and I'll talk a lot more about that later. Another thing ties with the quote, knowing who you are makes learning easier and fun. And that just pretty much goes along with how there's a positive influence on academic learning by social emotional learning. So it's a great thing when students know who they are. They learn things quicker. Everything is a lot simpler in class. And it also makes it a lot more of an enjoyable experience going to school, learning those new things, which is great because we want to see children with a passion for learning. And then next, it also opens students up to new content material learned in class. So they'll be a lot more excited about learning what they're doing. They'll be a lot more exploratory on what they're learning, and they'll want to test the other subjects. And then now we're also going to talk about how to integrate it. So there's 5 main portions of social emotional learning that I'll go over with examples. The first one being self-management, which is really tied to self-awareness. But self-management says that students need to be able to manage their emotions, and they need to be able to have internal motivation to reach goals, as mentioned in the graphic. And the really big thing for this is students can do breathing exercises or take just breaks in class, and it helps them do those things where they level out their emotions, and it's a lot more calm of a field, so it's a lot easier for them to learn. And then next we have self-awareness. As I said, it's tied to self-management, but this one really is students need to be able to learn their emotions and know their emotions and know the behaviors that are linked with those emotions. So really the thing is triggers. So what things make them angry, what things stress them out. And with doing this, they can manage it in a way so they don't blow up, which goes along, as I said, with the self-management portion. So things like journaling and self-reflection really help them think about those emotions. And it could be in the classroom, it could be at home. Just getting them attuned to those emotions is great. And then next we have responsible decision making. And this one is students need to be able to evaluate decisions before making really quick choices. So, and they need to know all those potential consequences, because could be many negatives, there could be a lot of positives, but things when they consider the well-being of themselves and the well-being of others, it really helps them make wise choices. Then next we have relationship skills right down here. And as I said before, it is an essential life skill. And this quote says, "It is the one skill you'll need your whole entire life." So students need to be able to work with other people. So things like the workforce can help, and they just need to be able to influence those things. And then next here and lastly, we have social awareness. And this one is really just looking at students being able to respect and learn about differences in people, and they need to be able to embrace diversity in general. So having things like empathy for other people, and those can really come about with service learning projects. Or if you want more of an in-class activity, you can do role-playing and have students talk with each other and act out different scenarios, which is a great way for them to have that social awareness that they need.
Thank you for being a part of our presentation. We hope that you enjoyed exploring the questioning assumptions about students in school. We hope that you, as future teachers, now understand the importance of looking inward instead of outward. We also hope that your eyes have been opened to the effects of snap judgments and making harsh assumptions. And finally, we hope that our information about social emotional learning has given you the understanding and ability to incorporate it into your future classrooms. Thank you. We used a few sources for this presentation. We were assigned 2 written sources and 1 video source. We used an article titled "Looking Out, Looking In" by Debbie Pusher. We used an article titled "Why Is That Child So Rude?" written by Beth Lindsay Templeton. And finally, our video source was titled "The 5 Keys to Social and Emotional Learning Success," and it was posted on YouTube by Edutopia.